What is your opinion on this spring and maybe the viability of such a game?
Yeah, so I don't know. It seems like half of college football has canceled their spring games, right? Nebraska famously, I think, lobbied the first real salvo this year. And then we've seen Michigan State kick it to the curb. We've seen NC State kick it to the curb. We've seen North Carolina kick it to the curb. Ohio State's kicked it to the curb, and they're blaming it on the length of their playoff run. Texas recently just announced that they aren't. USC isn't. All of these programs are canceling their spring games, and I kind of understand it from one aspect. I think that Matt Rule's a dork, and saying that teams are scouting your spring game, get out of here. Notre Dame holds the real spring game this weekend. They're going to do a close to the public scrimmage, like 90, 100 play scrimmage. They've done it for a few years now, where that's where the coaches really set the pecking order. And then the spring game is more or less just an exhibition for the fans. And that's what I think the spring game should be. And that's what Marcus Freeman said when he was asked about it as well, is that, like, I have a family. I want to bring my family to a Notre Dame football game. And I brought my two older kids last year to their first game. I have my daughter was 10 and my son at the time was 7. And then our youngest was 4. Well, at that age, they were able to sit through it. But I also have my youngest is a 4-year-old daughter, and I want to bring in those two when they were younger. We would bring them to spring games because the ticket price was like $15-20. There's no obligation. You kind of sit where you need. If you need to go and spend a half hour in the concourse to get concessions or to use the bathroom, or kids are walking around, it's not a big deal. It's the spring game. I don't, but they get to see they get to hear the band. They get to see the player walk. They get to go into the stadium. They get to see their favorite football team play against their favorite football team. So no matter who plays, they win. And it's the ultimate family experience. And I feel like all of these programs shuttering these spring programs down, it's just furthering that sort of NFL corporatization of the sport. And I don't like it. I think that the spring game's viability should be for fans to get excited about the season, but then also offering a fiscally responsible means for you to come, make your pilgrimage to the Holy Land.
We are in such an agreement here. I am so surprised. Also, this isn't exactly a new revelation with why teams are somehow not, they want to shun the cameras, or they want to not have a spring game. Like, we've known that we are headed towards this new model, this NFL corporatization, as you described it. We know players are hopping in and out of the portal like a lot, essentially. And the timing of the portal is extremely difficult too. And there's going to be changes as time goes on. But I would like to also point to just simply, there are so many other benefits to having a spring game. As you mentioned, it's so great for the fans, for the true fans. And there is stuff that you can gain from like having this game. And as you mentioned, the 100 play scrimmage, or 90 to 100 play scrimmage, is going to be the real like audition and tester. But you can have a game like this and still gain a lot, even in a world where it feels like it's almost archaic. Or you have here, I pulled it up because I thought it was a very interesting point when you started out with it. As of March 10th, so I know that was about a month ago, there were 19 Power 4 programs that had already canceled their spring games. So that number has probably risen, I'd imagine, over the last month or so. Now, you probably have to announce it before spring starts, so at least you know exactly where you're going or not going. But it just feels like there's plenty to gain, and the idea or why they're not having it is a little bit misplaced. You can blame a lot on NIL. There's a lot it's done and changed, and for good and for some bad. I just feel like I don't know if this is one. If you don't want your cameras to come in, just air the spring game a week later. And I believe that's what Michigan is doing. I don't know if that is exactly
they're holding,
they're just airing it the next week.
Which at least
you can still watch it, but like it's not going to be like the end
They
all
didn't
be
even
all.
they didn't even used to air them on TV. It was always a big deal for Notre Dame because they had NBC. Prior to Peacock, NBC would have the blue gold game, but like a majority of them, like maybe the Big Ten network or the SEC network or Longhorn network Pac-12 network might show some of them later on in the week, but it wasn't like a live thing for a number of years. And I just don't understand where this is coming from. I don't like UCF. They canceled their spring game, but they opened up 2 practices to the public, which I like that. And I like that about NFL teams is NFL teams do have practices open to the public. And I like that, but like, I don't know, to lock everything down and to create like, listen, this isn't the, all the King's men, right? There isn't some like massive, spy operation that you need to break up, or you don't have all of these secrets that you need to hide behind. Just run a vanilla spring game.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, Michigan is doing what they are doing almost to also protect some of the players as well. So I think they're trying to, they don't want to have a player to go out there and then have an awful spring game and then have that aired as well, while they're trying to potentially hop into the portal. So then maybe nobody else sees it, right? And they have a week to get out, go to somewhere else, and then that game airs. So it's like, I feel like it doesn't solve all the issues, right? Because you feel like you don't want to run a vanilla spring game, but who cares? There's plenty. It's not the end of the world to have a spring game either, right? I know a lot of programs are going to say it's not the end of the world to cancel it. It's not the end of the world to have it. I mean,
and it's
not
a
every
benefit
player's
to
going to
your
play
fans.
every single play too.
No, I mean they barely play. Like the starters
Yeah.
will maybe play the front half, and then in the second half they'll have the 3s and 4s. And you know what? It's a great opportunity for the walk-ons to be able to catch touchdowns in Notre Dame Stadium. Like what's cooler than that? Catching a touchdown in Notre Dame Stadium, and you're removing some of these guys' opportunity to have a moment, a signature moment in their playing career that they're gonna put their bodies on the line for 4 years in some cases, 5 years in some cases for these walk-ons. And you're taking away their opportunity to get on TV and to do things. I don't know. I think it's a disservice to far more people than it is to protect whatever kind of secrets you're hiding.
Well, and that's why I feel like it is more so a coach's thing than like blaming it on the transfer portal or what kind of new schedule that we have. Because as you mentioned, yeah, it would be awesome to catch a touchdown in Notre Dame Stadium. Put me in, coach. I would love to do that. If they don't want to do it, I'll go out there and do it. But like, actually, you'd love to see a player in a game kind of format to try to make get an opportunity, make a name for himself within the coaches. Sometimes you have an okay spring, you haven't really been able to break through, and then you have one heck of a drive at whatever position, and you just really show, and it's positive. It's a good thing, and it doesn't erase however much they saw, but it can be the cherry on top, and it could be something. And you got to think that a lot of these players, while they do love the flexibility of hitting the transfer portal, I'm sure they also really love the opportunity for some competition and to not have to uproot their entire life and have to deal with another recruiting, whirlwind that this time is only going to last 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah. And part of it as well is like last year after the scrimmage, you saw a bunch of guys transfer before the spring game, and people are like, "Well, why are they transferring?" Because by the time the blue gold game rolls around, they already know sort of what they've done this spring has already been kind of put in place for the staff. So I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't understand why. And like you said, with the coaches, some of them just like to control things. And that's, I think, Rule's thing. Cause he's been very vocal about it and worrying about people. And like, remember Ohio State was worried about, Michigan setting up spy drones to watch their spring game, and it's like maybe they weren't exactly wrong with Connor Stallions, but at the same time, it's like, come on, what are we doing here? This isn't the end of the world.
Hey, the more power that you have, those decisions are more of a reflection on your own personal beliefs and these coaches at these programs have unlimited power.
So
And so it is different because you see someone like Deion Sanders. I mean, I think he would be. You would have to fight tooth and nail to get rid of that for them. I believe, right?
I
They
mean,
wanted to do a joint practice.
They wanted, and that's not what it was with.
Or a joint game.
It was it Syracuse? Was it Syracuse
Yes,
that they wanted
Syracuse.
it? Yeah, that's fun, and I think more
Yeah.
programs should start doing that. And you know what? If you want to lose your spring practice or spring game, and you want to bring these little cross country spring, I don't know, it doesn't even need to be a full game because I don't know if they want to risk them to that, but have like a limited scrimmage against a team across the country. That's fun. Like make it fun.
I was surprised that waiver didn't get approved. I would imagine that's got to be something that there are other programs that they want to do. That's got to be. There's something. It felt like there was something there.
Yeah, especially when it's programs like Colorado and Syracuse. They're not going to intersect during the season. I can understand if like you wouldn't want to do it in conference, and you might not necessarily want to do it against a group of 5 program. But doing it again, like if Notre Dame wanted to play against Arizona State in one of these things, that's just fun. And there's no crossover as far as like common opponents or anything like that necessarily.